Okay, we are calling the meeting to order at 9:34. And our first item on the agenda is an opportunity for public comment. Do we have any public comment? Okay, so then we're moving on to the second or the third agenda item, which is an action item regarding approval of minutes from February 20th, 2025.
I move that it's be accepted.
I second.
All in favor, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Minutes approved. The next or fourth item on our agenda is a discussion and action item regarding CTRTAG membership. And the presenter is Melissa, and I will make the last name. Melissa is not here today. Okay, so we're going to like pass it to me. Okay, can I pass it? You can pass it. We have we'd like to introduce City and Rural Lives as new members of Central Texas Regional Advisory Group. And yes, and they are here present today. That's they're going to be presenting a little later in the meeting. Would y'all like to introduce yourselves?
My name's Lexus Carroll. I'm the mobility manager of City and Rural Lives. And I'm Rhonda Kelton. I'm the mobility manager I'm the transit manager for City and Rural Lives, and I supervise 6 of our.
Thank you so very much. And I believe they traveled 2+ hours to attend our meeting one way. I'd like to give them a shout out for doing that. And we're going to learn a little bit more about their roles in the community and how they serve the community and how they're going to add value to our group when they do their presentation. Okay, so we have on the table we need a motion for an agenda for new membership. So do we have anyone? Okay. And we need a second.
Second.
Yeah. Thank you. And so motion has been made and seconded, and so now we need a vote from the committee. All in favor of the membership, please so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Okay, this will also be contingent on going to the executive committee next Thursday for final vote. Central Texas Council of Governments executive committee. Okay, moving on, fifth item on the agenda. Discussion and action plan regarding the review and progress update, coordination and implementation of fiscal year 22 to 26 regional coordinated transportation plan. That's a mouthful. And our presenter is Anita. We have 2 aspects of this discussion and action item. The first is the transportation newsletter that you've been receiving from Dominique and now from Sam. And so we want to talk a little bit about that. And Sam does have some metrics. If we want to find out, is this transportation newsletter meeting your needs? It is one of our deliverables required by the grant. But we want to know, is it meeting your needs? And what can we do to improve engagement from our stakeholders? Sam, you mind?
All right, thank you, Anita. So CTCOG distributes the transportation newsletter. Sorry, this is a typo. Once a month, twice we do for economic development. So once a month, the transportation newsletter is distributed with the relevant group, and it is used to provide a quick snapshot of available funding sources, grants, legislative updates, federal updates, and upcoming events that would be applicable to the Central Texas region. So currently we use an online service, which is Constant Contact, to prepare the newsletters. So again, it follows the format that is available online. So a lot of you might think, hey, it needs to be formatted better, but it just follows the online format that we have available. But what it helps with is that the website provides a detailed statistic on the newsletter distribution, the click rates, the open rates, and the top performing links, just so help us understand what links the group are basically interested in, or what links are not as widely used or clicked.
Numbers for January, February, March?
Yes, if you could go to the next slide. All right, so this the figure the numbers that you have online are basically for the overall newsletter distribution, and they provide the distribution statistics for both economic development and transportation. But I can go over the statistics that I have for transportation itself. And what I have done is compiled or just made note of the figures we have from the month of January 2025 up until April 2025. And the open rate has been somewhat consistent throughout. So we have an average of 45% people opening the link, the email, the newsletters that we sent out. But then the click rate, which is basically how many people actually go inside the newsletter and click links for the grants or any of the information that is mentioned inside the newsletter. So that is very low. We have an average, I say, about 1.5%. The lowest that we saw during this time period was in March, which was at 0.8%. And that is something that we would like to understand and hopefully improve on for the future distribution of our transportation newsletters, just to help you out as well, and just so we know that we are distributing the correct information that the group is interested in receiving. And if you would like any changes for us to make to the newsletters, then we can go ahead and make those, so the newsletters are actually more useful to the group rather than just an email coming through that you can delete. If you could go to the next slide. So we would just like to kind of understand in terms of, are we through the email chain, are we reaching all the intended stakeholders? If there are any focal points that you feel like would be are not receiving the newsletters and should be, then please share those contact details with us so we can add them to the distribution list. Do we need to kind of expand or revise the distribution list? Again, just help us understand who we can add to this list to kind of make this more useful to the group. Also, in terms of the content that we are putting in, so we have the grants, we have the legislative updates, and the upcoming events. So would you like to see anything else added to the newsletters that would make it more useful to the group? Please let us know, and this is open to the group for discussion. Thank you.
I have a question. Is this, I'm getting the newsletters, is this something we can forward out to the community for email distribution list to?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Is there a way on it for them to click on it if they want to be added to the email list specifically from here? That comes from you?
I can go ahead and see if there's like a subscribe button at the end of the newsletter. If not, I can get your contact details, and I can also see if we can add that subscribe button at the end of the newsletter. So whenever you do forward that, it is added and they can click and subscribe.
Any other questions or comments?
How many people are being sent out to today?
Sorry.
How many people are you sending out to?
So the group, the
list has, I'd say, about 265 emails that we have, but this varies because in the month of March we had 264, April we had 263, in January we had 238. So a lot of the emails are not, let's say they shut down or the email bounces back. We have had a few who have left and moved on from their jobs, so they unsubscribe. Which is why, but 265 is generally the number that we're at, the contact list.
So blasting it out internally would help with those numbers if we send it out to our partners and.
Well, I think I understood part of that, but what grabbed my attention on the previous slide was the difference, 2,000 something difference. Is that what y'all were building into?
That's what I was thinking, that's what I was
Between what was sent and what was delivered. And I wondered, that seems kind of a large discrepancy to me. Is it that we just don't have the right emails?
You are correct. The numbers, the figures are basically for both the economic development and transportation newsletters.
Okay.
Which is why we see a large number for both. Because in the economic development newsletters, we have a contact list of about 380, and those figures are for the year, like from May last year.
I understood they were annual. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, so then we're moving on, and I have a question actually, seek approval. Oh, we're gonna go on to the scheduled workshop. Oh, yes, thank you so very much.
Also, in the past, I don't know if y'all recall the implementation chart that was included as part of this advisory group, and we would review it. And so I was looking at that, and those are grant deliverables. And so I thought that it would do us well, and myself, if we could have a workshop to review each of those deliverables and get a progress report from our stakeholders, updated, determine what we can do to improve that implementation that we're required to. It seems like it was too big of a task to just pick and choose which ones that we would want inside of this meeting. Any recommendations y'all want that, I see some heads nodding, that a workshop would be a good idea.
I don't know if it's a workshop particularly, but it might just be a Zoom meeting for discussion, and then where you find that you need to do a workshop, then we can get behind it. I wouldn't have sense enough to know what was needed.
Okay. But we can do that workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be online. We wouldn't have to come to a physical location. But I would need the participation of all the members.
What are you thinking about?
I don't have a specific date, but I do think that it is a high priority to make sure that we're meeting our deliverable goals.
Yeah, and if a workshop's not held, ultimately, because it's a deliverable, and when I talked to Anita about this, we kind of had talked through a couple options, but one option is to bring something in at this board meeting every time, discuss that portion or that couple portions. Those conversations may go on a couple hours, they may not last very long at all. So it may be best to just have a workshop, kind of see what needs to be worked through, so that people come here, they don't think, well, I'm going to be there about an hour. Well, 3.5 hours in, I haven't had any coffee, don't have any tacos here, what's going to be going on? So that's the reasoning behind it.
I just want to offer that I would prefer something in person, because online there's so many distractions, and if there's a lot of content to cover, you're not fully focused most of the time.
Well, I like in person too.
Yeah.
But time is a big problem. Now, I have to leave this one early that morning, I don't like that, but I do, and it's hard to get here.
I think the best way maybe is we can send out the information so everybody can kind of look through it and gauge what areas they have questions or want to talk about. And then we can send out some type of doodle poll to see if maybe it works following one of the RTAG meetings directly or how that works best for the committee.
That would help.
And then we can make the meeting available online for those that want to participate online. And then for those that want to be in person, we can do that as well.
Well, it seems to me like when you're talking about transportation and transportation needs, every one of us are different. And, you know, you get us all together, we want our little piece to be done, but we don't know that everybody needs to be at that same meeting. And I thought, well, maybe if you could do the Zoomy things just with maybe those who are doing children and youth services, for instance. Maybe get that bunch to just look at something together and see how we could partner better. But we partner with the HOP, so for our babies. This is Head Start talking.
Right. I can attempt to align the deliverables by subject matter and send that out. Would that be of interest to you, Janelle?
It would help me, because I'm not going to pay attention to what somebody else is doing. I'm sorry, I love you all, but I got to worry about what's on yours. It's hard, I know it's hard, because it's a diverse group, and that's wonderful. But to break it down initially anyway, and that those pieces then come together in a full report, I think would be really good. And that full one could certainly be in person where we could really share what needed to be shared from those updates.
So what I hear is a doodle poll with deliverables by subject matter, and then determine if that would be a Zoom meeting or a hybrid meeting, in-person meeting.
It's good for me.
Yeah.
I do believe this will be an action item.
So we're making a motion for
Yes.
what exactly?
For a doodle poll for deliverables by subject matter, accompanied by meeting options.
I think you could just do a motion of direction for staff to send out a poll and create the workshops as discussed in the meeting.
Okay. So going with that, we have a motion.
So moved.
Okay. Second. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. So we're going to put it to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, same sign? Okay, motion passes. Thank you for making this easy.
Okay, next item, regarding the presentation from City of Little Rise. And our presenter is Rhonda and Lexus. John, please.
Click through. Don't click for me. I think I'm big enough. Okay, that everybody can hear me. Okay, we are glad to be here. We are interested in joining your group. We use the regional coordination plans to write our 50-10 grants. So it's very important that we stay involved, and we want to make sure that we're providing the service in the areas that we are providing service. Go ahead and go to the next one. Like I said, I'm the transit manager. I've been with CARP 26 years. I started as a driver and kind of moved up through the years that I've been there. Love the service. I love being a driver. In fact, when I started moving up, they made me not drive as much, and I didn't like that because I love it. To me, it's a fun job. It's great. I love the service that we provide. I love the individuals that we provide the service for. So it means a lot to be out there, and I go ride with the drivers a lot to monitor. And I enjoy doing that as well. don't get to do it a whole lot, but do it.
My name is Lexus. I'm the mobility manager. I started with Carroll almost 4 years ago. I didn't previously have transportation experience. But during my time, I have gained my knowledge in transportation and growth and used that across our service area to increase mobility for all of our passengers and the ridership within our communities.
You went on the next slide. We're prepared demand response service, and people can ask for door-to-door upon request. Our drivers do know that if they go there and see someone struggling, they can provide that service. We provide service in Brown, Callahan, Coleman, Comanche, Eastland, Erath, Hamilton, Mills, Nolan, Ronald, San Saba, Shackelford, Stevens, and Little Taylor counties. So we are in a very large area. We provide service from 7:30 to 5:30, Monday through Friday. And then in Brownwood and Early, we have a expansion grant. We had opted out on the state expansion, and we offer service from 6 to 6, as well as 8 to 2 on Saturdays. We also have an expansion grant that is in Carlton, at Stephenville for Carleton State University, where we're providing kind of a fixed route services for the students and that get to the facility. I don't know if y'all been to Stephenville anytime soon, but since Charleston became a D1 university, the traffic is ridiculous. The infrastructure for Stephenville was not prepared for that amount of students. Their current enrollment is 17,000 students. And it looks like it's going to grow. We provide medical transportation in all of our areas as well. So recipients can get those rides from 5:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. 5:30 a.m. is what time they can have that appointment to be in the Metroplex, to be in Temple, Austin. We do provide that service as well. Go ahead and click the next one. Is that it? Not all that? Okay. But we really want to be part of this group and put the information out there, get your input on anything that we can improve in services in the areas that we provide service that you guys cover.
I have a question. So y'all just inherited some of the counties that that Hill Country Transit District used.
Yeah, we inherited San Saba, Mills, and Hamilton.
Can you talk a little bit how that introduction of y'all's service to that community has impacted the community?
Learning how to use the service compared to how they did things and we do things. That is a big difference. Our ridership in the month of March, we had 195 trips in Mills County, 47 in San Saba, and 84 in Hamilton. In April, we had 87 in Mills County, San Saba 49, and Hamilton 54. We're getting the trips, but we just started medical transportation on the 5th of this month, and we're hoping that that'll start growing more as we're out there in the communities.
What is your audience, your audience that's using the transit? Your passengers?
Seniors, majority.
Any children, veterans?
Some veterans, and we've had some dialysis clients that we're using the service.
And so most of the rides, they stay within your jurisdiction, or anyone requesting to come over to Bader Scott White Health and Temple?
Yes, we're doing some Gainesville trips, Waco trips. So we
land passes.
Yeah, land passes.
Okay.
We're doing dialysis land passes.
Carroll, we take to Stephenville.
Thank you. Thank you.
As you guys implemented this, my understanding was like until July, there was going to be no charge to.
It was until
May. May is when we started.
Okay, so you have started charging. Have you
Yes.
noticed a decline in numbers or no change in ridership?
No.
We have tried to get out in the community more. We held the public meetings originally to introduce the service. We took brochures and business cards out to each county in the community. And then we just recently did this month a mass mail out to all of the counties, just educating them that we're the transportation provider now.
I'll just add that overall, the transition has gone fairly smoothly. The only area of concern is our young ones. our kids, where we used to pick them up and take them home. We're having to find grants to now cover that. So, something that we'll be looking at this summer.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I would comment on that transition. It has been a very involved transition, to say the least. We were at 9 counties. Now we have, this is on the rural side, we were at 9 counties, and we have now 4. So we gave up 5 counties. And in a way, that sounds bad, but I think it was a win-win all the way around, as much as it could possibly be. A lot of those counties, to be real honest, were too distant for us. And you just named some of the destinations that you guys were going to. It's very difficult for us to go to some of those places, whereas in fact, you are closer to a lot of the destinations. So it is a win-win. I think overall it's going to work out better. And another complication, you mentioned that your biggest hurdle was trying to get your arms around how we did it versus how you guys normally do it. Oh my goodness, I can't even imagine trying to do that, because Hill Country Transit is a little bit unique in that it's, we have a large urban, a small urban, and a rural division. And the rules in how the service is delivered in each of those is different. The rules in how we spend the money are different. The rules in how we report the money are different. So since the 60s, when we were doing nothing but rural, it's morphed a lot, because by far most of our ridership is in the urban areas. So it was many times for us, it was like trying to put a round peg in a square hole. And it was doable, but we were constantly struggling to keep everything separated. And I think this is going to work out a lot better for us. And I hope we haven't overwhelmed you guys. But trying to find that sweet spot balance between urban and rural for us, when we were 9 counties deep, it was very, very difficult. And a lot easier for us now, which I'll report the numbers later. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for your help with all that. And we did that transition, when was it? March?
It started March 20th.
Yeah. So it's still fairly new.
Yes.
But at least from our perspective, I think it's going to work a lot better. I just hope we haven't overwhelmed you guys.
Are you guys getting calls still for those 3 counties that you have to redirect to call?
We do occasionally.
Yeah, not a lot. Yeah. We tried to do as much education as we could with the transition coming. So, but we do still get a few calls here and there.
Does that transition have to be recognized, or is it recognized at like a state level? Like, how did that officially?
Oh my. It goes back to the funding. In fact, you mentioned that TxDOT still has not. What this did, Tony, do you remember how many rural systems are in the state of Texas?
30, I think there's 38 of them.
38. And so the funding is handled individually based on populations and density and land mass, and there's these formulas. And when we did this transition, I would say in probably 4, 5, 6 of our board meetings, we had TxDOT folks sitting over here, and we had to really figure out how are we going to do this. And that change, it didn't just affect us, it didn't just affect CARS or the other 2 organizations that took the other 2 counties. It affected all 33 or however many there are, because the allocation of the funds shifted just a little bit. The boundaries have shifted a little bit. Now they're having to redo maps. So I wouldn't say TxDOT's mad at us, but they were not happy with some of the changes we were doing, and but they also recognized that we needed to do something different. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you all for your input. Any other questions or comments? Good work. You've come a long way in a short time. Congratulations. Okay, so there's no action item on this. It was only discussion, so we are moving on. Item number 7, regarding the Public Transportation Coordination Plan, fiscal year 27 to 31, and our presenter is Anita.
Thank you so very much. So early in March, we started working on the FY 27 to 31 RCTP and submitted that. We had a one-to-one negotiation meeting with TxDOT staff, and they recommended the amounts to the Texas Transportation Commission, and in May, they're going to make those awards. They recommended $120,000 for 5 years, and then we'll have to fill out another application for FY 26 for the continuation at $40,000 for a total of $160,000, and that's all the deliverables on that particular grant are in this beautiful little spreadsheet right here. You should have received that online, and I printed out for you if you like. So shortly we'll be receiving that information. I believe it's on May 21st that we'll be receiving the exact determinations. And once that begins, we'll have a lot of work to do in planning for FY 27 to 31, and that's going to really require our stakeholders, y'all, to think outside the box on some of these deliverables, be super engaged with forward thinking and how we can really improve transit for our communities. Y'all have any questions? Okay, so if there are no questions or comments, this has no action to it, so we will continue on. Item number 8, regarding preparing for Section 5310 grant application, and we will hear from Anita again. Thank you. At the last meeting, Dominic led a conversation regarding all the different options with the 5310 grant application, and we weren't able to move forward with that because we didn't really have a good infrastructure in place to make sure that the grant award would be favorable for us. And so as we move forward, that's one of the things that we want to keep on the table is develop a framework and begin some really strong partnerships with the volunteer line programs, the ideas, but really develop a strong framework so that when it's time to apply for this grant the next round, we would have everything in place to be a success at being awarded that. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing when we talked to TxDOT about this was because 5310 funds go directly to designated direct recipients, designated transit districts. We have to have, in order to place an application in, we have to demonstrate that we have coordinated this effort in and out, and we haven't missed anything. If we would have applied during the last call, we would have sent in an application that probably would have just got turned down. This gives us an opportunity to have conversations with our transit providers and really come up with something solid that we can submit and be considered for funding. So while we're slow rolling this, it puts us in a better spot to actually achieve receiving funds.
Thank you, Rhonda. Do we have a target date for our next 5310 application?
I do not have that, but I can research it.
I think the next 5310, it's typically a 2-year cycle, so they just ended that one. So we've got 2 years to work through this and have conversations at our meetings to move forward.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, if not, we're moving on to item 9 regarding the quarterly report from Hill Country Transit District, and our presenter is Tony.
And we By the way, I'll take the opportunity to just announce or explain that at the beginning of the year, well, last year I kind of transitioned from the urban director to the assistant general manager, and Derek took my spot as the urban director. But at the beginning of this year, in January, we made a few other changes. We ended up, Tony used to be the director of rural operations, but we ended up rolling rural and urban both underneath of Derek Zatnick, which opened up, we needed a new slot, a public engagement director is what we really needed. So Tony has taken that role over. So he will probably be, his public engagement is in public individuals and also stakeholder organizations. So he's got his hands full, but he will probably be attending a lot of these as well. And right now, Derek is my alternate here, but we're thinking of switching Tony into as the alternate, just an FYI. And then getting to the quarterly report, another change that we made was we have changed our fiscal year to the same as the calendar year. So the numbers I'm about to spout off to you are representing January, February, March, so first quarter for us just this past year. And by no means am I going to go through all these numbers, but I'll just touch on some of the key ones. The total system ridership during those 3 months has been 100,497, which is a pretty good number. Our on-time performance, meaning all trips being on time, is 85.4%, another pretty good number. Our average wait time during those 3 months has been 13 minutes and 41 seconds. Tell you the software is very precise. So 13 and a half minutes there. Now, I also want to point out, it's not all roses by any means. We have had, during that time, of those 100,000 trips, 394 of those trips were over an hour. So when I say wait time, average is 13 minutes and 41 seconds. Some of them are just a few minutes, but we've had 394 that have been over an hour, which is not acceptable to us. But we're still dialing in, trying to dial in the sweet spot on our software. So I can tell you with confidence that of those 394 that went over an hour, the vast majority of them, and I'm guessing here, but probably 95% of them have been due to software glitches. And you've heard me say that a lot of this blending, commingling of all of our service into microtransit service is kind of revolutionary, and we're innovating our industry to a certain degree. That is true, meaning that the software is still being written to allow us to do this. And we still get calls from all over the country. How are you doing this? Especially from military bases. So we're succeeding, over the top succeeding, but it's still not perfect. So we do still get some complaints. But I'd say 90-95% of them are related to software, and then the balance of those complaints are probably, I think they're related to education, meaning that almost always it's an individual. We're doing it, most all of it, by app. I think about 65% of our trips are scheduled on the app, and the other 35% are scheduled the old-fashioned way on the telephone. But even at that, of the ones who are doing it on the app, there's some people who still are trying to figure out how to do that. So we're still doing travel training. We've done about 70 travel training sessions over the last probably 9 to 10 months, and we're still doing more. So I think that part of it will come around. So anyway, good numbers as far as that goes, but those are only related to January, February, March. So I want to try to put this in perspective a little bit for you. Right now, we are trending to do about 450,000 trips in the first 12 months. And that does not include Fort Cab. Fort Cab is another 250,000. So 450 plus 250.
These numbers that you're showing here include Fort Cab?
No.
Okay.
By the time we add Fort Cab in, we're trending to do about 700,000 in our first 12 months. So good numbers all the way around. And as for a comparison, in 2023, we were right about 285,000. So from 2023 to now, we've gone from 285 to about 700,000. And these numbers also, we just started microtransit in the rural division, the 4-county rural division, in March. So we don't have a lot of numbers really to reflect a trend there. But anyway, going from 285 in 23 till what we're estimating to be about 700,000 plus in 12 months, our first 12 months. We launched microtransit September 3rd. I think we launched Fort Cab as a pilot project on March 3rd. We launched the urban system on September 3rd, and we launched rural. I point to Tony because he used to be the rural director. We started rural on March 3rd. So anyway, it's trending very, very well, and not perfect. We still have a handful of trips that are over an hour, but overall it's doing extremely well. We're very happy with it, and I think it's just going to get better as we try to dial it in to perfect.
On those trips that were over an hour, were they regionally located in one spot, or were they just all over the place?
They were kind of all over, but the bulk of them were in the urban division because that's, I would say, 85% of all of our trips are in the urban division. So large or small combined. When I say small, I'm talking about Temple and Belton. When I say large, I'm talking about Parker Heights, Killeen, and Cove. So a small urban division and a large urban division. The difference is population. FTA draws a line in the sand somewhere based on population. That's how it washes out.
Just one other question. Was there a date or time that those were happening more frequently? Or was it just random?
No, they're random, but we do track times, very much so. It's very interesting to see where the peaks of, peak ridership versus off-peak ridership. Fort Cavazos definitely has 3 distinct peaks. Early in the morning, going to PT and breakfast, and then lunch, and then getting off at about 4 o'clock. So definitely 3 peaks there. It's not as peak, it's more rounded in the urban division and also the rural divisions.
Thank you.
Darryl, do you have any hot points on locations that you're tracking right now that seem to be more popular given certain areas?
Well, yes. When you look at our heat maps, we track all of the pickup points and the drop-off points on the heat maps. The Walmarts, the shopping centers, the hospitals, those are all key places, and they're bright red. And then it's yellow on all the other areas. I will also tell you that since we've started microtransit, we've become much more efficient, or at least a little bit more efficient. More efficient so that we're seeing a cost savings, put it that way. And we're talking to the cities right now about, on the urban side, to expand the services a little bit farther. So we have, a lot of our complaints too have been, hey, we're not in your service area. So we're talking to the cities right now. We've got a little extra money. How would you like us to spend that money? We want to expand. How do you want us to expand? Do you want us to expand the service hours? We operate from 6 in the morning till 8 in the evening, so 14 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And that seems to work pretty good for everybody. We've not had anybody say, yeah, you need more hours than that. But the 4 areas we can expand in is either the hours, the days themselves. If you'll recall back in, I think, 2019, we had to cut Saturday service because of funding. So we've asked them, that's another area we could expand in. The other one is in vehicles. We could add maybe a few more vehicles. A place like Killeen, which their peak is in the afternoon from about 1 to 4 in the afternoon. And in downtown Killeen, they are, all of our vehicles are packed at that point there, to the point that, you know, we've also subcontracted Uber to come in as a relief valve to us. So that's where most of the Uber trips are, is they're acting as our relief valve in downtown Killeen during that time frame. So we could add in some vehicles. So we've got service, hours, days, and vehicles. Those are the 4 areas that we could expand in. So I think when we go into FY or into calendar year 26, we may be bumping some of these boundaries out a little bit further.
Are you seeing, for example, like the Temple Industrial Park, where there's a concentration of employees, are you seeing more trips out there?
We actually are, they are not in our service area.
Okay, so that might be one branching point.
Which is, that was not done lightly. We tried to figure out how to include the Temple Industrial Park. But they do a lot of shift work up there, and it was like trying to put a round peg in a square hole. So we came up with a different approach that we're also going to be implementing in 26, which is a van pool service, which will provide 24-hour service to the industrial park. That way, it's really targeted towards shift workers. So, but yes, there are some areas. Belton wanted to expand out in just a couple of spots that they expressed to us. Temple, for example, I think they want us to expand a little bit farther down west on West Adams, a little bit farther. Not all the way to Morgan's Point, but down that direction. So there's a few areas like that that we will probably expand into and alleviate some of the complaints as well.
Your grants come to our workforce center regularly.
Yeah. Anyway, other questions?
I just wanted to mention that Monday night I went to a city council meeting at Morgan's Point.
Yeah.
Because it was a young man, 20, named Scott Bradpute. I can say his name because his parents are like helping him advocate. But he spoke to the city council about wanting to bring the hop to Morgan's Point. Yep. He spoke himself, talking about him wanting to be independent and get a job and go be around his friends and things like that. So when you mentioned not Morgan's Point, I was just wondering, is that a possibility to expand and what that process would be?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought Morgan's Point up. Maybe I should have Tony speak to this part. But one thing we are, I'll speak generally. There are a few extra cities that are expressing interest in getting into the system. It's Morgan's Point, Troy, Nolensville, and Salado.
Salado,
we're Slater's already in there. So, but you want to elaborate on Morgan's Point a little bit?
Yeah, so I haven't tried to talk, I haven't talked to Morgan's Point yet, but I've talked to Nolensville quite a bit, because we originally were going to try to bring Nolensville in underneath the rule, and then we found out that knowingly fell larger into the larger UZA, and therefore we asked TxDOT, can we use the funds to support the transportation skills? They right out said, no, it's in the urban UZA, so you can't use real funds. Part of the Hill Country Transit District is, each time you add a city to the UZA, it doesn't mean we get additional money. And what TxDOT gives us the money for the population of that area, but it doesn't say how to distribute that service. So if we add a city into it, it draws less from the other part of the UZA. So then we need to have permission from that UZA to accept our city into it. Most of our board members and stakeholders from the cities have said that they want buy-in into the system. And so Hill Country Transit District is trying to figure out what is that minimum buy-in from cities, and how do we be able to do this across the board and be able to talk to the cities, because we don't want to just talk to the cities, say yes, and then find out that they can't afford to buy it without being able to upfront come in with a buy-in cost to those cities. So that's what we're working on right now. Morgan's Point, I am going to reach out next week to Morgan's Point, because I've been at this is not the first time. We've been here for a little bit, but I finally got permission from our general manager yesterday to go ahead and have the conversation with Morgan's Point, because we know everybody wants to leave Morgan's Point to go through their trips, but we've got to figure out where we're going to, whether we can actually provide that service or not. Because it's going to have to probably be a link in the city of Temple somewhere. So therefore, we have to figure out where those boundaries are going to be laying out at.
So we need permission from TxDOT on
So
how we
is
do
it
that.
with Temple or Belton or both?
It depends, that's what I said, we need to really talk, let's figure out where those trips are. I will tell you, Belton's probably unlikely, because it's a quite a good distance for us to reach the Belton zones, rather than the Temple coming down Adams versus going down 317 to touch to Belton. So it's just going to be laid out. If the clients are confirmed to go to Belton, it's something we would have to really think about how we're going to do it.
But we've not forgotten about it. I'll tell you a little funny, when I arrived today, see down the hallway, and Uriah and Tony were talking, they were both leaning against the wall, looked like they were holding the wall up. But as I walked up, they were talking about Morgan's Point, how to do it. Equally, equitably, legally, all of that. How do we do it? And there's a lot of red tape and regulations and bureaucracy involved. But we do have some ideas that we think we're going to be able to come up with a path forward for all of those extra cities coming in. We have to make sure that we're legal in doing it. So
I'm excited that it's considered. And if you want to see the video, Scott, I have it.
Oh, okay.
It's like 45 seconds, but he did such a great job.
Yeah, I would love to see that, and it's interesting. That's one individual. There's a lot of people out there like that. In fact, I helped Mercedes do a travel training 2 days ago, I think, for the visually impaired people. Literally, they call it the VIP group. It's not very important people. It's visually impaired people in this case. But we did a presentation. There were probably 18 or 20 folks in there, and they really expressed a lot of satisfaction in the change switching over to microtransit, because for them particularly, and probably for the gentleman that you're talking about, microtransit is really, it fits like a glove for them. And it's made the VIP folks, they were thrilled. They're just absolutely thrilled. It was a travel training, so they're still struggling a little bit with the technology involved, and that's why we were there. Mercedes was educating them. But yeah, it's a good thing, especially for certain subgroups of the population. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey.
Any other questions or comments? So there is no action item related to this item, so we'll move on
to staff updates, and Anita will be presenting. Thank you so much, Melissa. One of our next items that I'd like to unpack are our meeting dates. And we had some unforeseen scheduling conflicts, and if you printed out the packet, the dates inside of that printed out packet have changed once again. So the exact dates that we're looking for are actually not on that PowerPoint. So please don't, they're not on PowerPoint and they're not in the packet, but I will send them out as an update. We'd like to move forward and change our meeting schedules to the first Tuesday of July. That would be coming up July 1st, 2025, October 7th, 2025, January 6th, 2026, April 7th, 2026, July 7th, 2026, and October 6th, 2026. And the reason for those date change is that it aligns a little bit more with the reporting that is required by TxDOT, so it will be more in real time.
And you're going to send those out?
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
And I believe that this is not an action item, so what I'd like to do is for the next meeting discuss if that July 1st, 2025 is something that y'all can do, and then we'll add it to as an action item to vote on, or I don't know how to proceed.
I don't know, and I've been a little removed from the committee. Have you guys voted on an actual calendar? If not, it's probably typically just been dates that staff have shown. I think what we can do for the next meeting is develop an annual calendar like we do for the other boards, and we can bring that for the committee's approval. That way you have a whole year planned out, and you can see it and let us know if there are any conflicts.
But the next meeting would be July 1st, right?
Yes, of this year.
And of course, if things come up and July 1st isn't going to work, you can just let us know. We realize we won't have a quorum, and we
Morning time?
Yes, the same exact time, 9:30. Thank you so much. And the next update would be federal and state updates. Sam, would you like to share, please?
Yeah, thank you. So, as part of the federal and state updates, we sent out the transportation newsletter, I think it was yesterday, and that captures a lot of the upcoming grants, the applications that are open, ongoing. So, y'all can look at that and see if any of those may be of interest. And a few other grants that may be helpful, although their deadlines have passed, but it's good to keep an eye out because they might be useful. Are the USDOT Rural and Tribal Assistance Pilot Program, the TCEQ Texas Natural Gas Vehicle Program, and the Federal Highways Protect Grant. So for all of these grants, the application deadline has passed, but for next year, it's good to keep an eye out, and we will be adding these to the transportation newsletter as their application deadlines are closer and open. In terms of the legislative updates, the House Bill 2099 related to the imposition of tax on commercial electric vehicle charging services. So that was introduced in January 2025, and in March it was referred to as Ways and Means. It is still in process, but we will keep the group updated as part of the transportation newsletter. For the Senate Bill 887, which was filed in the 89th Texas legislature, which relates to the authority of a municipality to use funds collected from an impact fee to construct or install a safety improvement to a roadway facility. So the bill was introduced in January 23rd, 2025. As of February 13, 2025, the bill is still pending. But again, we'll keep the group updated as part of the transportation newsletter. In terms of the temporary restraining order on federal funding freeze, in May 2025, the restraining order remains in place. But again, we will keep the group updated as part of the newsletter.
You have anything you'd like to say?
Well, yeah, there are a couple things. In the Texas legislature, of course, there's a bill for additional funding for railroad crossings. I think it's right around $700 million. That's moving through the legislation right now. On the federal side, of course, we heard that fiscal year 2024 earmarks or community project funding, those were all canceled straight out. So communities that receive that funding that were expecting it are no longer getting it. Other grants, like the RAISE grant or the BUILD grant, SS4A, those things are continuing to move forward. We do have a jurisdiction in one of our counties, the city of Kelton applied for a RAISE grant, which is now BUILD. They were awarded the grant, but that's kind of got held up in the award process in Washington, D.C. I was on a call the other day. Grants are still moving forward. There's just additional reviews and things that are being taken into account. So some of these grants that we heard are being canceled and tossed to the way. Those things aren't actually happening right at this moment. Things are still being funded. It's just a slow process because of the additional review that is happening, where it would usually be a review office regionally up for us in Dallas or Austin or wherever. Now it's going all the way to DC to be reviewed by staff up there. So some of these are being slow rolled. Additionally, the COG and KTEMPO are looking to apply for Safe Streets and Roads for All funding for the upcoming funding cycle, which closes in June or July? June, for some innovative technology funding for project demonstration or planning and demonstration funds to put up some equipment to monitor and inform our plan on post calls, near misses, those types of activities. Our current SS4A plan, it has a lot of data for crashes and projects related to how to get that, but it doesn't have the data for the near miss. And as we all know, having crash data, that's great. That means something's happened. But if we can get out there in front of it and see where these near misses are happening, then we can eliminate that crash from occurring in the first place. So that's kind of what the COG and KTEMPO's upcoming grant application is going to be here for. Other than that, I don't think I have any other real updates. I know that we just submitted a letter to Senator Cruz's office. They've made a request for the FY 2025 surface reauthorization, the transportation bill. So we've been working through that as well. That's been submitted. Hopefully they'll work through that process. They're fairly early in it, but it does look like the surface transportation reauthorization bill is on schedule to be approved by September 2026. That's all I have.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions for you, Ryan? Thank you, sir. And I believe the last update is going to be the ozone. Kendra, would you like to report on that?
Yes, our two monitoring stations for air quality in the region were 70 and 74 parts per billion for the month of April. As you can see, those are the fourth highest value of each year is tabled there for you for each of those monitoring stations. And then across a 3-year span, that average is what is monitored in regards to either in attainment or non-attainment for our region. So that threshold is 70. So the last time that EPA and their associated agencies measured, we were still in attainment under 70 parts per billion for that average at that time. So we are continuing to monitor those for the sake of compliance and our monitoring requirements. And should that change, there are additional plans that have to be put in place to assist our region in being in attainment for air quality.
Does anyone have any questions for Kendra? Thank you.
Okay, so now we open the floor for any member comments, questions, discussions.
How about an invitation? Would that work? Head Start, National Head Start is celebrating 60 years, and Central Texas 4C is celebrating 50 years of Head Start services to Bell County children. Friday in Killeen at the Conference Center on W.S. Young from 10 to 2. Come by, say hi if you have any connection or want to see a little bit more about what we do. A lot of people think they know what we do. They think we babysit. We don't babysit. It's a 2-generation, sometimes 3 and 4 generation program because we're in those homes lifting families up while we're working with their children. We have been recognized again this year by HEB's Excellence in Education Award. We just made the semifinalists this year. We were a finalist last year, and we've been there all 9 years, but we haven't won yet. It's on my bucket list. So we've been nominated again for next year's award for high quality in the state of Texas. And the interesting thing about the way HEB does it, they send about 9 people to come view and interview not only us, but parents and people and community partners as well. So we think we have a really good story to tell, and we want to tell it really fast, really loud right now, simply because of the federal funding that Head Start depends on. We can't lobby, but we can sure advocate in our communities to get people to sign our Head Start birthday card. If you haven't heard of that yet, come by and sign that. We already have 6,000 signatures on it with every state and every, like American Samoa, Puerto Rico, and the islands. I can't even think of the name of them right now. But we have signatures from all of those places on the Head Start birthday card. And the reason we're doing that is to keep Head Start in your mind, because it's a critical economic engine for our small communities. We have 140 jobs that we provide every year, and we've served over 27,000 children. So we're going to play Friday. We're going to have fun. We've got a dance floor. My people dance. They sing, they dance, they do all those things for children. And I told them there would be a dance floor. Olive Garden's going to cater at a reduced price for us. Simple, small meal. And we're hoping that all 27,000 come, because we'll run out of food. But you can stop by, have a cup of coffee, and sign our Head Start birthday card. It would help us a lot. Right now, Central Texas 4C is leading the nation in the advocacy for those Head Start signatures. That's something through the Head Start, National Head Start Association. So we're going to have fun. Come see what we do.
Is that tomorrow?
Sorry. Is today Thursday? Lord, yes, it's tomorrow. You know, say one thing about getting old. I know why time goes so fast anymore. It takes me, by the time I get my purse and the car turned off and get the stuff and get my coffee cup and get out of the car, it's next week. It doesn't matter. I'm old, and there's still a fire in my belly for the work we do with these children while their brains are developing. So come see what we're about. We'd love to see you.
What's the
Good
time?
job.
And so, 10 to 2.
And what's the location, please?
At the Civic and Conference Center on W.S. Young in Killeen. And we will have a book author there signing books. We have some door prizes. Some of them are books, so that you can get them signed by the author. It's a wonderful comic book. It's the first really good 5-year-old comic book I ever saw. And the name of it is Mom, the Monster Master. So,
Do we need to RSVP?
no, show up by, sign, and just find the staff. We're all going to be wearing red, white, and blue. And just share with them who you are, and if you have a connection or a question about Head Start, just visit with us. And and dance a little if you like line dancing. I know what my group's gonna do. So, we'll have fun.
Well, everybody confused, you know, do what? I saw my dance and show her.
My boots are loud. I kept thinking, you know, now I'm gonna be on my feet all day, so I gotta wear tennis shoes, because I have to be there at 7 o'clock to start setting up. But then I'm gonna have leather sole shoes on if I'm gonna dance, because you can't dance in tennis shoes. So, you know, there's gonna be adjustments along.
Well, thank you for sharing, and congratulations for being a semi-finalist. We wish you the best. And congratulations on 50 years and on 60 years for the Head Start program. Anyone else have anything they'd like to share?
I just had a question. I love that you did a training for the VIP. I'm familiar with that group. And just wondered with that, I went to a training that Hop did with Rachel Clemens with, right? I'm having a brain freeze. And it was amazing. It was a really great training. And I just wondered, could we do something like that, like for the community or for those with disabilities, for everybody, for the users?
Yeah, absolutely. We like putting those on. They're very beneficial for the people and for us. And we look for opportunities to do it. I mean, we've done about 70 of them recently in the past 10 months, I think. So more would be even better.
So are you the contact person?
Andy, yeah, we'll talk after.
Okay.
All right.
So you're the one we contact for that kind of thing, Gerald?
I'll,
because I was looking about, when school starts again and we start up again, we have parent meetings at all of our different sites.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if you might have a person, maybe not to come do a big thing like you're talking about, but just to tell the parents how to do the ops.
Yeah, that's what
that might be a really good parent program.
We usually do it with a PowerPoint, and a couple of days ago, the VIP program, I got up to introduce Mercedes and realized they can't see that PowerPoint. So we had to shift gears, not all of them, some of them could just fine, but had to shift gears, and Mercedes, she's great. She just literally converted all those slides into a verbal description, and she did a great job. So, yeah. But yeah, you can contact me, just call the office, ask for me, or call the office and ask for Mercedes. Either one, we'll be able to get that scheduled.
Okay, thank you for that information. And anyone else like to share anything else? Okay, so now we're moving on to the next meeting, which will be July 1st, 9:30 a.m. And then the last item on our agenda, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Do I have a second? Any discussion? No, then at, what is, how does it come? Was it 10:46? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for your